At home, in bed, in the warm. The latest from Podnews.net with Magellan AI, now analysing Spanish podcasts. People are most engaged with the podcasts they listen to when they're at home, in the warm, on weekday evenings. That's the suggestion from new research from the University of York, helped by the BBC. The data also looks at how people listen. 71% use headphones, just 29% use speakers, and how they find new podcasts too. It includes responses from our readers, and the detailed research paper is now available in our show notes and our newsletter at podnews.net. Acast has partnered with podcast production company Tony Media in the Netherlands. Audio Boom has renewed a slate of shows, including Top 40 show The Way I Heard It with Mike Rowe. On Air Fest has announced its second wave of speakers and headliners. The event is in Brooklyn in New York on February the 23rd to the 25th. The Dreamcast Podcast Pitch Contest has been announced, designed to provide participants with the tools, resources and guidance they need to launch a successful podcast and achieve their goals. There's a panel of expert judges, and I'm also involved, and we'll award prizes of up to $20,000. Spreaker is the latest podcast hosting company to support transcripts. Using the podcast transcript tag, it allows podcasts to publish transcripts and captions, which are shown by a growing number of podcast apps. Remote recording tool Zencastr's crowdfunding round is now public. The company has already raised $388,000 from 644 investors. And thank you to Gilded Audio, who have become our latest supporter today, the only award-winning podcast production studio to ever send us a picture of their logo in cheese. They produce shows for Spotify, Audible, Accenture and Chobani. You can be like them, not the cheese, but the support, by going to podnews.net/support. In People News, Chartable co-founder Dave Zorob is now product director for Spotify's enterprise podcast tools, leading the product team for Megaphone, the Spotify audience network, and Chartable. The former CEO of Wondery, Hernan Lopez, appeared in court this week, charged with wire fraud and money laundering, which he denies. The charges relate to his time at 21st Century Fox. We also talk about the new host of Vox's policy podcast, The Weeds, the ongoing hosts of Hark Daily, a roundup of podcast moments on the day's most relevant topics, and multiple sales and product hires at Veritonic.
From your daily newsletter, the Podnews Weekly Review.
Hi, I'm Jonas Wust. I'm the co-founder at Bumper, and I'll be on later to talk about Listen Time.
Hi, it's Lex Friedman. I'll be on the show later to talk about Lex Friedman Consulting, my time at Amazon, and my whole experience in podcasting.
They'll be on later, but only if you listen later to the Podnews Weekly Review. Join me and Sam Sethi for a full look at the week's podcasting news. You'll find the Podnews Weekly Review in your favourite podcast app. And in podcast news, true crime podcast The Fall Line is in the middle of a 3-part podcast miniseries on a nearly 2-decade-long cold case. Edit Your Life has joined Adalist Media. CBC's The Vinyl Cafe might be Canada's most beloved radio show, and Backstage at The Vinyl Cafe features stories about Dave Morley and the Kids and stories from the much-missed show with producer Jess Milton. It's hosted by Acast and launches this week. Just launched Dear Nelly with Aussie comedian Nelly Thomas, brings guests and advice from the other side of 40 for relationships and dating. It also explores breakups, parenting, marriage and programming the remote. You have to program remotes. City of the Rails is new from iHeart Podcasts, and new this week, Mind Set Win features amazing people from the world of sport talking frankly about the mental tactics behind their success, followed by practical tips for listeners to build a winning mentality. This podcast is sponsored by Magellan AI. Magellan AI has added support for analysing Spanish language podcasts in the US and Mexico. The product is already monitoring more than 2,000 advertisers, and you can get a demo today at magellan.ai/Spanish. And that's the latest from our newsletter. To read all the stories and subscribe, we're at podnews.net.